Today, we are going to talk about running OpenVPN on AWS, Amazon Web Services. We will be doing a general rundown on the pros and cons, then go over the average cost of running a small version of OpenVPN on AWS. Let's get started. Let's start with the pros of OpenVPN on AWS. If you are familiar with hosting software, it is fairly easy to set up. On AWS, you can choose your version of OpenVPN and click Deploy. Configure the initial settings, and it is ready for use. You can also scale your hosting account up to the size and cost you would like to pay for. Another pro is, with AWS, you can change and get new IP addresses fairly easily. AWS IP addresses are fairly clean. I have never got one that was blacklisted. Now, a few of the cons of OpenVPN on AWS. The speed of a small personal VPN on AWS is slow and inconsistent for the cost. My internet speed straight from my modem was about 190 megabits per second. Running my connection through OpenVPN on AWS was around 15 to 19 megabits per second. This is a very low and poor speed for most internet browsing needs. Another con is with the IP addresses. With AWS, your IP address can be traced back to you fairly easily, unless you take some rather complex customer identity precautions. The IP addresses from AWS are also publicly listed as Amazon, so they do not look like an average home user. They look like somebody using a VPN. On some websites, these IP addresses are gray listed, so you will get blocked from sites from time to time. Amazon has very stout security, and I am sure that they are fairly accommodating to any kind of state intelligence service. I would not use a VPN on AWS for any kind of political statements or activity that is illegal in your state or country. Our OpenVPN on AWS was more expensive than it would be on an average hosting plan, billed by the month or year. It was also more expensive than your average commercial VPN account. We will go a bit more into detail on the cost now. Let's have a look at the cost of OpenVPN set up on AWS. The way AWS bills you is they break down most items and charge you by the hour for that item. You get billed for hosting the software, the hours it is running, the hours it is used, and probably a collection of stuff you never expected. With AWS, you can choose many different sizes of OpenVPN instances. It can be scaled from a small consumer size to a large wholesaler size. For our OpenVPN, we had the option range from T2 Nano at 0.006 cents an hour to i3EN24 extra large at $10.84 an hour. They are priced by the hour, so you can times the price by the hours in a month and get a base monthly price. AWS always has additional charges here and there they add on. In general, Amazon is very good at adding confusing charges and making them look normal. AWS has a cost management explorer that will tell you where each charge comes from. The AWS Cost Explorer is a collection of graphs and reports. You can also download CSV data and manage it in your own software. We used a T2 micro at the cost of 0.012 cents an hour, which averaged about $10 to $15 a month, depending on the amount of time it was connected and used. It is comparable to the cost of an average consumer VPN account. A large instance size would be faster but in a higher cost category than your average consumer level VPN. Cost is not an advantage with running OpenVPN on AWS. In conclusion, the internet browsing speed from OpenVPN on AWS was poor and inconsistent. For the same price or less, a consumer can get better and faster VPN services on the average consumer market. One advantage I see with hosting OpenVPN on AWS or any other host is more control over your VPN and your internet traffic security. Also, if you are a tech geek, it can be fun and worth a few bucks to play around on the latest professional level cloud environment. AWS has a nice user interface and an impressive platform that is designed with the ability to scale projects to a massive size. I found it easy to deploy and manage OpenVPN software on AWS. I also found it easy to track the cost of using the OpenVPN software through the AWS Cost Explorer. If you have never played around on AWS, I would encourage you to try it out. It can be fun and worth a look. That wraps up today's overview of OpenVPN on AWS. Thanks for watching. Stay safe and stay secure.